God was teaching me through that I need to depend upon him and lean upon him even when my faith causes problems. I think, man, the Jewish people, they should have just backed up Moses and said, Moses, we are going to figure out a way to be free, and we're gonna just march out of here, out of Egypt, and we're gonna do this thing. And their reaction was not that, okay? The difficulties come not from the thoroughly secular world sometimes, but sometimes our difficulties come from the people we're trying to help, even those who claim to believe as we do. And I wouldn't have blamed Moses for thinking he was 1 for 3 in the success department in his life. You got to think a little bit about the arc of Moses' life for a second here. He struck out as a baby when he was sent down the river in a basket. He struck out again at 40 when he tried to do the right thing the wrong way, attempting to help his people, yet killing an Egyptian. And now, here he was at 80, coming back for the third time, feeling as if he were going to strike out again. Because do you remember what happened here that was just read to you? As we look at the text, all of Moses' effort caused Pharaoh to proclaim that the lazy Hebrew people would not only have to make just as many bricks as before, but now they would have to make the bricks without what? Without straw. Let me explain a little bit of that. They would have to go out and work twice as hard to obtain the raw materials for making the bricks. And the Hebrew foreman walked up to Moses and Aaron and said, "May the Lord look upon you and judge you. You have made us a stench to Pharaoh and his servants. You've put a sword in their hands to kill us." The foreman was asking Moses, man, why did you even get us involved with this? What a frustrating thing. I wish you didn't do that, Moses. It seemed he had only made things worse, but surely Moses was upset, and he must have thought that at least the Hebrews wanted an exodus before he got involved. And now it appeared they didn't want anything. The people he was trying to help, who seemed at first to want his help, now were cursing him for making things worse. You ever wonder if things are going to get worse, but then you think, God, would you make it better? Would you please give me faith that things are going to get better? It's part of the Christian experience more often than not. We get involved, we give ourselves, we take a stand with people or for people, and just because we're being obedient to God, sometimes stuff can start to crumble. I remember the first time that it happened to me. I was pastoring, first church I pastored in rural East Tennessee, outside of Knoxville, home of the 3-in-1 Tennessee Volunteers. And but I was pastoring outside of Knoxville, and our church did a really cool thing, which, by the way, I think this is a good time for me to share this. I have a heart as we're developing our budget for the first half of 2025, and then we'll develop a full budget for July 1, 25 through June 30, 2026. I have a heart for us to do some much more intentional things to penetrate our community with the gospel, okay? But one of those things that was done early on in my ministry, I was 24 years old when I went to go pastor this church. They flew us in from seminary in Texas, and they didn't think about it till we landed, but we couldn't rent a car because I wasn't 25 yet. So the search committee had to just drive us around all over East Tennessee and show us the church and the community and everything. But when our church had this situation where we started to really try to reach our community, we did this Thanksgiving outreach ministry that was so cool. And here's what we did. We had, it was pretty much everybody in the church. There were 69 people there my first Sunday. And we loaded up in the kitchen in the fellowship hall, and everybody had been cooking from scratch, mashed potatoes and turkey and pumpkin pie and all this stuff, and put together individual meals in styrofoam containers, wrapped them up in saran wrap, and then we had reached out to the schools in our community that anybody who was in the school lunch program, if they wanted a free Thanksgiving meal that was home cooked from scratch, that we would love to be able to provide that Thanksgiving meal to them. And then we would deliver the meal to them and we would share the gospel with them. So we did that. And it was a really effective thing. However, I delivered a meal, Charity and I did this, to this one man, and he was really unappreciative for the fact that we gave up hours of our Thanksgiving day to go to houses just like his. He was in a really rundown trailer park. He clearly had lived a rough life from what he had communicated to us. And then he was living in a rundown place. And we pulled up in our 1990 Lincoln Town Car, and we were struggling to get by too. And we brought the food into his home. He was very unappreciative. And then we started to share the gospel with him. And he just said, I don't have time for that. I got to watch the football game. And he closed the door on us. So went back. That was Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. Went back on Sunday morning before church. And I said, hey, I know we met. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot, but I would love to be able to bring you to church this morning. And he shared some words that I cannot share with you from my mouth, but they were not very nice words, and cursed me out. And anyway, I just asked the Lord, why'd you get me involved in this? Because I went through a lot of effort to help prepare the food and package the food and deliver the food, and then be treated poorly, and then to go back to his house 3 days later and to be treated poorly again. And Lord, why'd you get me involved with it? Why is this happening? And what's going on, Lord? And when faithfulness brings problems, we may quickly find that our only resource is a renewed cry of prayer to the living God, where God will just communicate to you through prayer, through the reading of his word. Hey, just because you get shot down doesn't mean that I'm counting you out. And I wish that I could end that story by saying, well, the guy eventually showed up at church one day and he got saved, and now he's living for the Lord. I never saw the guy again. But the reason I share that is because I got so frustrated in my faith. My faith was causing problems on a holiday. But God was teaching me through that I need to depend upon him and lean upon him even when my faith causes problems.